Hello, it's Kath Berry here. I've just returned from the TCM Congress in Rothenburg in Germany, and I wanted to share with you some of the things which I experienced there. The conference itself attracted over 1,200 acupuncturists, mainly from Europe, but also from other countries as well. And there were presentations in over 10 different languages. So it was an incredibly inspiring event to be part of, and I just wanted to share this with you. One of the things that really struck me about the conference was that the profession itself was represented by those people that are in a different stage in their careers. By that I mean people that have been perhaps in practice for a really long time. I was really struck by the lack of attendance of younger people. I ran into maybe 2 students in the time that I was there, and it really was overwhelming that the profession needs to be represented by younger people coming through as well. I had wonderful pleasure working with Mel Hopper-Koppelman, and she's a dynamo. It was really great to have her perspective, looking at research, looking at public awareness, and looking at working with some of the key agencies that were represented at the conference. We were there also talking about the Acupuncture Now Foundation, so a lot of what we were wanting to do was raise awareness for the organisation and engage people in the need to talk more about public awareness and the funding in a PR campaign. So the other thing that really struck me was that, having been to conferences in Australia, the UK and the United States, I realised that I've only ever known acupuncture in the English-speaking world. So what was extraordinary was to come along and meet people from other European countries. Obviously there was a high representation from Germany there. People from the Netherlands had a really strong presence. There was also a Dutch day, which we got to meet those crazy Dutch. Sweden, Switzerland, there was a woman from Iceland, which was really lovely to hear. But what really struck me was how there seems to be a bit of a triangle of practitioners in the world. Those in the English-speaking world, so again, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom and USA and South Africa and Canada perhaps. Then there's the Asian countries, so looking at Japan, so China obviously, and then Japan and Korea and the other Asian countries, and they sort of form their own little triumvirate. And then there's Europe, and there's this whole range of activity going on in Europe that I felt, maybe because of the language, that we need to work more cohesively. So that was a wonderful thing to come from the conference, is just realising how much more activity is going on. For example, I had a wonderful encounter with a practitioner, Beatrice, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, who works an hour from Rothenburg. She's a German acupuncturist and herbalist, and she is involved in a clinical team that run a Chinese medicine hospital. It's a 44-patient in-bed facility, meaning people stay over and stay in hospital. They have an ambulance service where they can go and collect people. They have an outpatient clinic, and just hearing that there's this amazing, incredibly coordinated and efficient public hospital system that exists, all using acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine. So that really blew me away. Another highlight was meeting a lovely woman, Rakula, from Romania, and just hearing about some of the struggles that the practitioners where acupuncture is new and emerging, hearing about what some of the issues they have, particularly the predominance of acupuncture to be practiced by doctors, the medical profession. So there's struggles to have it recognised as a profession, as we found all over the world. That seemed to be a common complaint. What was interesting, and I'll share with you the interview that I did with Tuvia Scott from Israel, is that overwhelmingly Israel seems to be leading the way in terms of integration with mainstream services, public awareness, high profile education. But what's really interesting about Israel is that Israel doesn't have regulation. So Israel has managed to integrate acupuncture into health services without being recognised as a profession. So in a way, it's giving us hope that recognition or regulation is in fact just one piece in a whole process that we might need in order to advance the profession. So there were some really interesting overwhelming experiences to come from the conference. One of the things that also really struck me, and I guess with my acupuncture professional hat on, was the lack of technology. And what I mean by this is that in the whole time I was at the conference, over the 3 full days, and attending different workshops, seeing practitioners, talking to people, in that whole time I saw 2 people with iPads. So it really struck me that people or practitioners in our industry don't necessarily engage in technology in the same way as in other professions. And that I felt was refreshing to know that there's an opportunity, I guess, to work with practitioners in helping people understand how technology might help us, this sort of thing, raising awareness, linking on the internet, using YouTube, podcasts, understanding that online education, obviously, which I'm really passionate about, can be something that we can use to advance the profession. Just trying to think of other things too. I loved hanging out with the New Zealand lot, with Paddy McBride and Karuna and Deborah Betts, who were all represented there. Fabulous, of course, listening to different people's view on research. One of the things I did when I met, excuse me, one of the things I did when I met really influential people like Hugh McPherson, for example, was I asked them what things of the conference did they find inspirational. And it was really lovely to see Hugh McPherson's eyes light up and say that he'd been to sit on a research presentation where subjects were put in a deprivation chamber, where they were in a flotation tank in the dark, and using lasers, certain points were being stimulated, and they were asked to come out and map the sensation they had in their bodies. And what they were finding is that they were starting to map meridians. So this obviously gives weight to the idea that the evidence that the meridians exist, which of course we all know. But to see someone with so much research experience and someone who's obviously very well versed in going to conferences still get excited and still be inspired by listening to his peers, that was really a wonderful bonus of the conference. So I loved talking to people at the conference. I loved meeting people, hearing what they got out of the conference, hearing what they were there for to achieve. Unanimously, everybody seemed to be there to meet each other. That the speakers on the program were obviously very high level, the topics were very high level. It was an incredibly well organised conference, as you'd expect, given their years and years of experience. And the overwhelming sense was that people were there to speak to each other and understand more about what the profession was doing, from catching up with friends and networking. So the conference facilitators had done a really great job in allowing long lunch breaks. There were lots of very good casual places for people to catch up and meet. So naturally that was a really lovely thing to come from it. But I think the highlights for me personally were connecting obviously with a whole new part of acupuncture, the non-English speaking or the European acupuncture, meeting a lot of the members of the ETCMA, the European European Traditional Chinese Medicine Association. So realising that the ETCMA are doing a fantastic job of trying to bring all these different associations together and look at Europe and acupuncture Chinese medicine as a whole. So, I'm sitting here in my garden in Ibiza, in this lovely Mediterranean island off the coast of Spain, and reflecting on what it's like to be able to attend something like that face to face, and rub shoulders with these incredibly influential people, hear firsthand what's going on around the world, and obviously try and bring snippets of that to you. So I did my very best to interview people as I went along, and I look forward to attending again another year and being more structured in how I bring that to you. So a big shout out to everyone that signed up to say that would like to be interested in the Acupuncture Now Foundation, and we certainly look forward to where we see this technology taking us in the future.